Good morning to all. I am very happy to be a part of this FDP program. Rajapalayam Rajus College PG Department of Computer Science in association with Ecrio Incorporation organizes a 5-day online FDP program on adapting to AI-driven industry. First of all, I welcome Mrs. D. Jyoti Ma'am, Assistant Professor of Computer Science Department, to welcome the gathering.
Good morning, sir. Creativity leads to thinking, thinking leads to knowledge, knowledge makes you great. Good morning, one and all present here. A warm welcome to all present here, including respected principal, sir, the SF coordinator, sir, the esteemed chief guest, the head of the department, ma'am, as well as the teaching staff and our virtual mode joining participation and technical staff and my dear students. A special thanks to the chief guest of the day, Dr. Krishnakumar Narayanan sir, founder and CEO IGL Private Limited, softwareinterns.com. Thank you for accepting a 5-day faculty development program on adaptive to AI-driven industry in association with Ecrio Incorporation. Today, delivering the keynote address, technology update on AI workloads, 5G and IoT, and sir guiding all faculty to new beginnings. Welcome, sir. Once again, a warm welcome to everyone present here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. C. Ramakrishnan sir, principal of our college, to deliver the special address.
Good morning. PG Department of Computer Science in association with Ecrio organizes a 5-day online faculty development program. A good initiative by the department because everyone knows well the importance of AI today. I thank today's chief guest, Dr. Krishnakumar Narayanan, and I also thank all the special guests who have accepted our invitation and supported to organize this 5-day faculty development program. I appreciate the head of the Department of Computer Science who has organized the 5 days online faculty development program for the faculty. I also thank the coordinator, Dr. R. Ramaraj, who gave a permission to conduct this kind of faculty development program for the faculty. Not only Rajapalayam Rajus College faculty participated in the program, faculty from different colleges also have participated. Definitely I hope that this 5-day FDP will be very informative and beneficial to all the faculty. I once again thank all the chief guests and resource person who have accepted our invitation and make this program a successful one. I congratulate all the faculty members of different institutions to have a successful days with the members. Thank you. Thank you, Ananda.
Thank you, sir. I request Dr. R. Ramaraj sir, coordinator of Self-Finance Department of our college, to give the felicitation address.
நிகழ்வில் இருக்கக்கூடிய அத்தனை ஆசிரியர் பெருமக்களுக்கும் இனிய காலை வணக்கத்தை தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு 5 தினங்கள் பேராசிரியர் பெருமக்களுக்காக நடைபெறக்கூடிய இந்த நிகழ்வில் இன்றைய சிறப்பு விருந்தினர் திரு கிருஷ்ணகுமார் நாராயணன் அவர்களை வருக வருக என்று வரவேற்று இதற்கு அனுமதி அளித்த கல்லூரி முதல்வர் டாக்டர் சிஆர் அவர்களை இந்த தருணத்திலே வரவேற்று பேராசிரியர்கள் இந்த சமுதாயத்தை காக்கக்கூடிய மிகப்பெரிய பொறுப்பு என்பது உங்கள் திருக்கரங்களில் ஒப்படைக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. அதற்கு இது போன்ற நிகழ்வுகளை நீங்கள் முழுமையாக பயன்படுத்தி கொண்டு அதை நடத்தக்கூடிய எங்களது கல்லூரி கணினி அறிவியல் துறை சார்ந்த பேராசிரியர் பெருமக்களை அனைவருக்கும் அவர்களுடைய முயற்சிக்கும் வாழ்த்துக்களை தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு எதிர்கால இந்தியாவை வளமான பாரதமாக உருவாக்கக்கூடிய என் மாணவ செல்வங்களை வடிவமைக்கக்கூடிய பொறுப்பில் இருக்கக்கூடிய அத்தனை ஆசிரியர் பெருமக்களும் இந்த 5 தினங்கள் நிகழ்வுகளை முழுமையாக உங்களுடைய வளர்ச்சிக்கு பயன்படுத்திக் கொள்ளுங்கள் என்று கேட்டுக்கொண்டு வாய்ப்புக்கு நன்றி கூறி விடைபெறுகிறேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Thank you, sir. Next, I welcome Ms. D. Saranya, Head of the Department of Computer Science, to introduce our chief guest.
Good morning to one and all. It gives me great pleasure to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Krishna Kumar Narayanan, Chief Technology Officer, Vice President of Engineer, Ecrio, California, USA. He has over 25 years of experience in software architecture, development, delivery, and customer support. As a part of the founding team of Ecrio, he is responsible for advanced technologies powering Ecrio's products and solutions in the area of IP-based communications and messaging. His current areas of interest includes edge computing, AI/ML, AR, VR, XR, and IoT. He is a board member at Ecrio. Dr. Krishna Kumar holds a bachelor degree in electrical and electronics engineering from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and PhD in computer science, USA. He holds 5 patents. We are honored by your presence on this faculty development program, sir. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my pleasure to invite our chief guest, Dr. Krishna Kumar Narayanan, sir, to get forward this knowledgeable words, the section. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. First of all, good morning to all of you. My grateful thanks to Secretary sir, Principal sir, Head of the department, and the entire RRC College staff for making this faculty development program. Faculty development programs are essential for any college, any institution, because if the teachers are well trained, it benefits the students, it benefits the community, it benefits the country, and the whole education system as a whole. So I'm very pleased to be part of the faculty development program. Of course, this is not the first one. Our relationship with RRC have gone several years now, and I'm always excited to be part of the faculty development program. We have a packed 5 days activity. I would like to thank all of our Ecrio team members who have joined together and offer this their expertise and share with the education community. My sincere thanks to RRC College management to make this happen online so many people can benefit from it. So yeah, I think in the name of introduction, my name is Krishna Kumar Narayanan. I'm responsible for technology at Ecrio. I have a short presentation I'll go through and talk about the topic today. And then I have few videos also I'd like to share. So let me share the presentation. Please hold off your questions. Please ask at the end. You can also type it in the chat box in the Gmeet. We can take a look at them once the presentation is over. Okay, so let me share my presentation now. Okay, so the topic is technology update on AI workloads. I think principals are rightly pointed out. AI is becoming very important these days, not only in industry, but also in institutions, not only in colleges, even now in schools are beginning to take a look at what can be done on artificial intelligence. So this is definitely a very hot area. And the 5G, again, everybody is using mobile technology today, whether you're on a 4G phone or a 5G phone, mobile technology is important. And industrial IoT as the next revolution of industrial 4.0, 5.0 happening, especially in India, where we are becoming more and more manufacturing-oriented country. A lot of manufacturing companies are setting up factories here from abroad. So IoT becomes very important for us. So the title is Adapting to AI-Driven Industry. So just not only for us, the whole world is adapting to the AI-driven industry. So we'll cover some of that in my segment. Okay, here is a list of topics that I would like to cover. Just few slides on, who is Ecrio, where are we based, what are we doing, what are our products, what are our collaboration, and then definitely want to talk about the relationship between Ecrio and RRC College. What are the key milestones that we have achieved so far? and where are we going from here? We have some great plans for the collaboration between Ecrio and RRC. So I'll touch upon that. Then I'll give you a brief my view on adapting to AI-driven industry. What are the considerations and suggestions from the college point of view? Then talk about three technology areas: AI workloads. I'll start defining what that is, if not already defined. Then talk about public-private 4G opportunities and challenges, industrial IoT. So those are the three technology updates. And finally conclude with what is Ecrio doing in that space that you could join us as part of the educational institutions and start building those solutions, and what are the challenges that we are seeing today. Okay, let me see if anybody is asking any question. Okay, sounds good. Just a regular good morning. Okay. All right, let me go back to my presentation. All right, Ecrio USA and Ecrio India Private Limited. So this slide talks about our company background. We are based in USA, Silicon Valley. We are just a few blocks away from Apple. We are a high technology company focusing primarily on software, and we are privately held. We incorporated just about 24 years ago. Like I mentioned, we are headquartered in Cupertino in the Silicon Valley. We have subsidiaries in India and Korea. Especially in India, about a few years ago, we started our operations in Chennai. So we have headquarters in Chennai, but we have people in Bangalore, Calcutta, Palakkad, and now in Rajapalayam as well. So we have teams that are spread across the country as well as across the globe. We have global customers. Telecom operators are our customers. We have marquee customers, name brand customers like Intel and so on, and several partners. So I'll cover some of that as well. So what do we do? What do we do in the technology? We focus on mission critical communications for AI workloads. So basically, whenever there is an industrial setup, whether it is a manufacturing unit or an oil and gas refinery, or even college campuses, wherever there are AI workloads are involved, it triggers usually some sort of an action for humans to take. So this is where we come in and provide mission critical communication, whether it is push to talk, group calling, video calling, just like what you are used to in the WhatsApp application today. A lot of them are not available when you go to industry, when you go to private networks and so on. So this is what Ecrio provide. We provide the mission critical communication software. We not only provide communication between human to human, but also human to machines, right? As the industry is getting more and more accustomed to drones, robots, cameras, the need for the human to machine interaction becomes very important. So that's what we do. We also bring collaboration platform like Zoom. Of course, the areas that we touch upon are Gen AI, ML, Kubernetes, network in a box. I'll cover some of that in my segment. So these are the technology that we are dealing with are really latest and greatest, what the industry are looking for, and we're working with all the key players. Leadership, our CEO is Mr. Michel Ganaj, and I myself, Krishna Narayan, is responsible for technology. We have Dr. Vikram Karmarkar, who is responsible for product. We have an excellent board of members. We have 35 plus full-time employees across the globe. We have a good LinkedIn site. You can sign up and follow us there. So just go look for Ecrio. Ecrio, by the way, Ecri in French is to write. So we started out the company with handwriting recognition products. So as you all know, the handwriting was a first form of communication, right? When before the computers were invented, people used to write letters, right? So handwriting was the first form of communication. So right from day one, we have been focusing on communication. We have been working with a lot of colleges. RRC is definitely a top of the list for us, and we have colleges in Chennai, Kodaikanal, and other places as well. Our idea is to provide, in addition to faculty development program, we have been working with colleges such as our college in RRC, Rajapalayam, hands-on projects. So that way students who are not only in the final year, but also in first year, second year, they get to know the technology by doing some hands-on projects. So this way, they're not waiting for the final year to do their final project. So that's what we do. And we have been offering internships to them. So this is just a brief summary of what Ecrio is about. And talk a little bit about our partnership with RRC and some of the key milestones. So far, what we have done, we have done some contact center proof of concepts. Thanks to the computer science department, we have been doing a lot of great work in the technical part of it. And also the computer science department is instrumental in setting up an R&D center in Rajapalayam. Like I mentioned, we have a small team in Rajapalayam headed by Rajesh Kumar sir and a few of the RRC students who graduated a few years ago. So we are very pleased to announce that the computer science department has been very helpful for us in setting up the R&D center there. It is very strategically important for us to have redundancy in the system. Though we have headquarters in Chennai, we want to spread across the country and definitely go to tier 2, tier 3 cities where there is a lot of talent, and we want to tap them and then bring them as part of the ecosystem. So R&D center in Rajapalayam is very important for us. And we have also had a number of interns. In fact, several interns are working for Ecrio from RRC College, not only in development, but also in QA. So that's what we have done so far. And where we are going is we are basically enabling students with key technologies. Like I mentioned, the technology that we work with are IP cameras. As you know, cameras are everywhere, not only in your home, in your college, but if you go to an industry, in a manufacturing plant, or an oil gas refinery, any place that you go, healthcare, you go to hospitals, everywhere there are cameras, and they're all connected now. And how do we process that information? How do we control and command cameras through communication? So those are areas that Ecrio is working on. But the first step is to enable the students with those technologies. So we're enabling them in IP cameras and AI/ML tools such as PyTorch and YOLO V8 and several others. So in fact, we have great plans to come up with some coursework so that students can do not only learn but also can do some hands-on project in that area. Also, we'd like to create some of the industrial environment. We want to simulate them in some of our labs. So we have been working with RRC College students and the staff. How do we demonstrate some of these AI workload? I will describe them in a minute. So some of these simulation environments are something that we are trying to recreate in RRC College, and basically grow Ecrio R&D Center in Rajapalayam, right, with the support of RRC staff. We are committed to the educational communities, so we would definitely train more students and bring more students into the workforce. So that's what we have planned for RRC. Thanks again to the secretary and principal sir and the entire staff have been so cooperative with us, and thank you once again. So with that, let me go into the technical part of it. So these are my views. So how do one adapt to AI-driven industry? What are roles and responsibilities? I basically categorize them in two buckets. What is the responsibility for an industry and a market perspective? When AI hits everybody, how does one react to it? How does one adapt to it? And then what we can do as colleges and institutions. So if you take a look at what's happening in the industry is already adapting to it, right? As you hear from a lot of the news clips from various companies, IT companies who are looking for hiring students as fresh engineers or scientists, they stop looking for programmers anymore, right? I think that happened last year or so. They are looking more like, can I have problem solvers and people who have knowledge about the AI, especially Gen AI and the AI/ML tools and procedures, and what kind of problems are they solving. And so the industry is already adapting, which is a good sign. So, and then they're also, you might also hear this term upskilling employees. Basically, as soon as they hire, previously they used to hire and teach them a programming language of their choice that they use in the company. But all of that is quite rapidly changing. And what they're saying is employees, not only juniors, but also seniors, they have to constantly go through training because the technology is changing almost every day. So it is not enough to hire students from a college, get them as employees, and then finish 6 months of training and they're done. No, training is a constant process. And so this is what the companies are realizing now, that they need to be trained, both juniors and seniors, in the technology area, especially in the AI area. So that's what industry is doing. So now let's come to colleges and institutions. What can we do as educational institutions? How can we help in this challenge, right? AI is becoming part of every industry. How do we deal with it, right? A few things that I jotted down here is accelerate training the faculty, because like I mentioned, the whole idea behind the faculty development program is to make sure that our wonderful professors are equipped with the latest technology, latest tools, latest framework, what are the various solutions that have been built, what are the problems that the industry is trying to solve. So accelerate that part, right? Though we have a traditional way of doing FTP, maybe we should have AI focused FTP. So basically accelerate the training part of it, encourage faculty to do more webinars, workshops. These days, there are plenty of online workshop. If you take a look at any one of these AI leading companies, whether it is NVIDIA, Intel, Qualcomm, you will find that many of these companies are offering webinars and workshops. So sign up for those, listen to them, understand what they're trying to do. Because these days, about 10, 15 years ago, there was a large gap between what happened in the industry and what happened in the college or institution. That gap is now shrinking quite rapidly. Right, whatever is happening in NVIDIA is coming and hitting the colleges very quickly. So that means that the faculty also needs to be up to speed with what is happening in the industry. So the good news is the internet is really coming handy. So you don't have to travel these days. You can do a lot of the work by just simply adapting to by listening to webinars and workshops. And of course, some of the colleges are already offering. Maybe our college is already doing. Introduce AI/ML courses very earlier on. Don't wait for the last semester or the last year for the students, and start offering hands-on projects. The good news is there's plenty of content that's already out there. Many online courses are available. So maybe we can take some of them, adapt them to our college, and start offering them, and encourage students to develop, to sign up for developer account. This is an area that I emphasize wherever I go and talk about this topic. Encourage students. If, for example, go to NVIDIA. There is a free developer account that you can sign up for. Same thing with Intel, Cisco, and IBM. Start becoming part of their developer community. You'll get notifications on what they're doing, what are the newer framework that is coming. For example, NVIDIA is coming up with a new technology called VIA, right? They call it visual interactive agents. So particularly, there are cameras. How do you process the video from an IP connected camera? How do you interact with the camera? So plenty of innovation happening there. So take a look at those areas. That's what I would say. And those things don't cost us anything. You just need to simply go sign up, and then you can start playing with it. They also provide some cloud account that you can play with it. So plenty of help available from these companies. So that's something that I would recommend. And focus the industry institute collaboration towards this change, right? So basically, the industry is looking for students or graduates who are more experienced in their area, especially in the AI area. So demand more projects, and then when you talk to industries, you can also demand them for projects that they're doing, solving real life problems rather than these days. About 10, 15 years ago, when you go finish a degree, do a university project, it's usually to get a degree, you do a project. It can be a very theoretical exercise. It can be a problem that nobody is really solving in the real life. But that has changed dramatically, right? People are now, more companies are looking for students who are solving real life problems. And so that is important. And then join the local and regional companies. So not only in and around where your college is, let's say in the Rajapalayam area is very well known for manufacturing. So there could be plenty of companies who could be looking at automating a lot of the stuff. Or go a little bit beyond, your local area, go to the regional companies and see what kind of problems are they solving, and start getting involved in the early stage. And last point is an important one. It's just not only for our college, it's across the country as a whole. You will hear that from many people as well. Many of the company head CEOs or MDs will also tell you that there is a shift in the Indian IT sector, where a few years ago it was okay to be a services company, but now more and more creating IP becomes important for a lot of the companies. And how are the companies going to create IP, right? They need to be getting help from the educational institutions. So colleges like us and others should really, train the students on not just work for a company and write software so that goes somewhere else, but start creating IP, create patents, create technology that competes with everybody else, right? So how do we create the next Google in India, right? So those are the type of conversation that people are beginning to have, and institutions like ours can be part of that. So I think the way I see it is adapting to the AI-driven industry is a must-have, because AI is going to be part of every industry. But good news is we have a lot of path that is already paved for us. So it's a question of going through that and making sure that we are ready for it rather than catching up. Okay, so that's it on the kind of the FDP overall. Then I'll go into some of the technology update, like I talked about. The 3 technology updates are AI workloads, public, private, 5G, and then industrial IoT. So the first one is AI workloads. People may ask, hey, what is the AI? I know what artificial intelligence is. What is the AI workload? So the way it is defined is it's a collection of processes and procedures used in solving a problem using AI, ML algorithms and techniques. And usually the techniques involve training a particular model with a particular knowledge. And so the system has the knowledge about a particular area. That's called the training phase. And then you pose a problem to the system. That's when the system will infer, right? So it uses all the knowledge that it is trained on, infer what needs to happen, and then make the decision. So the whole process of training, inference, and decision making to come up with a solution is called the AI workload. And I threw in a few of these verticals. These are called the industry verticals, defense and port and so on. I'll cover some of the use cases in terms of where the AI workloads are getting used. And I have a few examples that I'll also cover in my later slides. Take a look at defense, right? Robots and drones are getting part of the defense. You don't want to send a human to a very dangerous area. So you would rather send a drone first, just survey everything. So all of that is all done by AI, right? The drones capture the images from the camera. It recognizes it. It also been trained on what type of things to expect for. So a lot of areas. So if any of the students or faculty are interested in taking a look at what the problems that defense is solving, go to our defense department website. You will see a lot of information. Sign up for some of the newsletters. You'll also hear the technological advancements, whatever they could share. Of course, a lot of them could be confidential, but whatever they could share to the public, you'll be able to get access to. So definitely, this is one area that we are seeing a lot of traction. Port, for example, where I live, Chennai, we have a wonderful port, and we have one in Tuticorin. So ports are getting automated as well, because one of the things that the ports are looking for is, hey, how can I make sure that the ship coming in doesn't stay for a long time, right? How do we process all the information, and whether they are importing or exporting, whatever they do, either they take this stuff from the port and load it up on the ship, or they are unloading it, right? So these processes need to happen very quickly, because the real estate space in the port is very expensive. So you don't want to have a ship taking up a lot of time and resources. So a lot of AI workloads are getting used in that one. I have a few examples of that. I'll come back to that a little bit later. Oil and gas is another big area. Lots of sensors that are monitoring, the oil pressure, the sensors, whether the humidity and temperature are all in the right range. All of that stuff needs to happen. And plenty of AI workloads are getting used there. Smart cities, you probably hear them. The signals, the street signs, the cameras that are monitoring everybody's speed. So there are a lot of equipment or the sensors or units that are kept in the smart city, not only for transportation, but also in buildings. They want to have the energy efficient use of all of their equipment. So plenty of opportunity for that one as well. Transportation, I think, as you know, India has got the largest railway system. Clearly, communication and AI becomes important there as well. I saw recently an announcement that every train station is going to be equipped with a private 4G or cameras. Cameras are going to be placed, and wherever there are cameras, AI is going to be part of that. Because the very first use case for the AI workload is to understand what the camera is telling you, and then try to make some sense out of that. So coming back here, manufacturing, as I mentioned, robots and other equipment are constantly involved in manufacturing. So AI is already in the manufacturing part of it. Healthcare, same thing. These days after the COVID, we learned a lot about how to deal with viruses. How do we make sure that we don't have large outbreak of viruses? So how do we isolate patients? So when we isolate patients, cameras are going to be used to monitor the patients and understand their any criticality that they may face. So again, healthcare is also going through a transformation after the COVID era. So that is another area where we see AI workloads getting involved. Venues, same thing. Let's say if you have a football game or a cricket game, people want to see they just missed the last run out or whatever that is, and they wanted to replay that, and plenty of opportunity for AI to recognize that and feed that information in real time to the players. Education, I'm seeing colleges, especially in US, they're trying to have their own private 5G, private 4G network, and they want to experiment with their own AI workloads. Yeah, so these are some of the industry verticals. But like I mentioned, this term AI workloads is something that you will hear more and more often. But it is nothing but a collection of procedures and processes and things like that. Okay, so that's what is happening in the industry today on the AI side. Now let me talk about the private 5G. Everybody knows about the public 5G. You may very well carry a 5G smartphone, and in India also there is plenty of 5G network that are coming up. Though many of the country as well as rest of the world is on 4G, but 5G is really catching on. So public 5G is fine, but many of these verticals that I talked about, there is a need for them to have their own private network. I'll cover, for example, where in some areas, let's say you're building a solar panel, right? That is not going to be in the middle of your town. It is going to be outside in a remote area. So we know the coverage issue with the public 5G or 4G. Even in cities, towns, we'll have issue with the coverage. If you go to a remote place, coverage becomes a big issue, right? Public coverage is a big issue. So these companies who are going and putting solar farm or windmill farm, they need to have connectivity, right? Their workers need to have very solid connectivity. So wherever there is public cellular not available, private 5G becomes important. The second one is security, right? For example, let's say if you are a manufacturing company, let's say you're a motorcycle manufacturing company, and you have some secret sauce that you don't want that information to go to the competition. So you want that information to be kept inside your factory. You don't want that information to go to somebody like Airtel or Reliance, or Jio, or anybody. So that is another use case where the companies or the enterprises are looking at, hey, I want to have my own private mobile network. And then the coverage requirements, like I mentioned. Of course, the two other things are latency. Clearly, especially in industry like manufacturing, where the robots are doing a lot of the work now, and any the timing requirements for them are very, very stringent. You want to have the response time in 5 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds. So you don't have the time to send the data to the cloud via your public 5G network and get the data. Typical round trip latency from a device to the cloud and back is like 200, 300 milliseconds. So that's not going to be enough. Another area that we are making a lot of headway is remote surgeries, right? The robots are doing the surgery. Again, from the time the doctor instructs something and the robots perform something, you want that latency to be in 5 millisecond, 10 millisecond range. So for that, you need a private network. So latency, speed, security, coverage, lack of coverage. And the last one is cost, right? If you have a large plant, there are a lot of data that needs to be processed, and you don't want to write a big check to the public mobile operators. So whereas if you have your own private network, then you can keep the cost low. You don't need to pay anything to anybody for at least the traffic that is happening within your enterprise. So for all those reasons, private 5G becomes important. And it's just no longer a phenomenon that happens only in places like US and UK. We are hearing many companies in India is looking at private 4G initially. 5G is still a little bit away, but private 4G, many companies are saying, hey, I want to have my own private 4G network. And many of the vendors are beginning to take a look at that. Who are the major vendors? These are the usual suspects, the Ericssons, the Nokia, the HPE, Microsoft, Cisco, and Solana. So these are folks, some of them are public 5G, 4G leaders. For example, Ericsson and Nokia, they deploy millions of users for public 5G. They are getting into the private 5G as well. And this is just a survey. For example, in 2022, just 2-year-old data, it was $1.61 billion for the private 5G market, and it is expected to be 36 times. So it's like 30 times over growth in the next 8 years or so. So basically, plenty of growth and opportunity for companies. So what is the takeaway for our faculty is start looking into offering projects in private 5G. Start having private 5G labs in your college. And I mean, these days it is not very hard to assemble private 4G at least, because you have the 4G antenna towers are all available, miniaturized version of them available that you can install in your lab, and start having your own SIM card and start experimenting with it. Because as these companies come and set up factories in our country, at least our students will be equipped with it, so they can get a better opportunity to work in these companies. So private 5G is certainly a big opportunity. And a little bit on the public-private 5G, what are the key components? So if you take any mobile network, whether it is 4G or 5G, they consist of 3 key components. One is the radio access network called the RAN. For the 4G, it's called the E node B, and the 5G, it's called the G node B. Of course, you can Google a lot of this. Basically, these are the towers or the antenna that goes with the radio. And then you have a core. Core is nothing but a piece of software that maintains your subscription, your registration, what are you doing on the network, things like that are managed in the core. We have a core for 4G called the EPC, and then for the 5G is a separate core. Again, the same vendors are providing the core. And through standard interfaces, the third component is communication, right? Because the very first thing that you do when you go buy a mobile is you pop in a SIM card and see, can I make a call? So when you register the phone, it registers with the radio access network on the core. When you make a call, it uses the communication servers, whether it is voice calling, video calling, push to talk, messaging, all of that is done through a communication servers. So Ecrio provides the communication servers. We work with the core vendors and the radio access network vendors, and for the private network part of it. So that is the safe. Just the beginning of the technology that you would like to see. But if you go in Google for it, you'll get a lot of information on private 5G, the anatomy of a private 5G. You can go find out. And then in our country, who are all the players who are looking into the private 5G? Start accumulating that knowledge and start bringing smaller simulation versions of that in our lab, so you can experiment with it. Once you are familiar with it, then you can teach the students, so they are familiar with this technology and they are ready for the 4G, 5G. Because you might have already heard, India is going to be leading the 6G innovation. But unfortunately, a lot of our institutions are not even teaching 4G, 5G. So I think that needs to change. So I think we can make a change in that direction. Like with anything else, private 4G, 5G, there are challenges. So let's say if you're setting up your own private 4G, lab, obtaining the right frequency band, right? The frequency band can be very important, because if it is a high frequency band, you may be able to, it may run faster, you may be able to send data faster, but it may have difficulty, penetrating through walls. But if you go for a lower frequency, you may be able to have a better coverage. It can go through the walls and all, but it'll have a limited capacity. Getting the right frequency is always a challenge, and optimizing the coverage and avoiding interference, because unlike public 5G, the chances of interference is very high, right? So imagine, let's say in a city like Chennai or even Rajapalayam, if you take, if there are 10 companies who want to have their own private 4G, we want to make sure that they're not stepping onto each other's network. So it becomes very important that you don't want to have company A private network to be used by company B. So making sure that coverage is there, and the coverage can be 1 kilometer, 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers. So depending upon the radio access network that you get, your coverage can vary. So then the third point is adapting to indoor and outdoor. You want to make sure that your network works both in the indoor as well as the outdoor. There are challenges there in integrating with the existing infrastructure. Let's say if you are a manufacturing company, I'm sure there is already a Wi-Fi network, right? Every enterprise has got a Wi-Fi network. How do you make sure that it interfaces and integrated with a Wi-Fi network or Wi-Fi infrastructure? That becomes a challenge. Sometimes meeting the regulation requirement becomes a challenge as well. You want to make sure that the radio frequency is not harmful to humans, not harmful to animals. So there are certain regulations that you need to meet, and so those things are also very important. But I think good news is all of these are not unknown, and at least in the 4G, many companies are deploying this, and there's no issue with that. And what we provide, Ecrio provides, is we provide the critical communication services. So once you get your network, radio access network and the core ready, whether you're a company or a college, then we can supply the critical communication software that is required for the users to make phone calls, video calls, conferencing, and messaging, and so on. And I've thrown in the source for this particular challenge as well. Again, this is just one example of that. But if you go Google for the challenges for the private mobile network as a whole, you will see all the details in terms of what is needed. Okay, so hope that gives you a little bit of what is happening in the private 4G, 5G network. Here is one terminology that I would like to introduce, especially in the private 4G, 5G. There is a concept of network in a box. So basically, if you take a look at the public 5G, you cannot put them in a box, right? Basically, you have a big tower and you have a large data center. Let's say if you take a look at a Geo network or an Airtel network, it'll be huge. You cannot put, because it is designed for lakhs and crores of people. So it doesn't make sense to, you cannot keep them in a box. Whereas if you're talking about a private network, let's say you're a textile mill that has 500 people, you want to create a network for that. You don't need that big tower, that huge server that is needed to serve lakhs and crores of people. So you're talking about a much smaller system. So people started thinking about, hey, can I put all of that network in a box? So the NIB stands for network in a box. And what Ecrio does is we provide the communication on top of that. So we call it the communication network in a box. So typically it can be 4G or 5G. And the requirement is somebody should be able to carry it. Of course, this is just a logical representation. The actual look and feel could be different. But in end of the day, inside it's a computer. It's like your regular desktop computer that has a CPU, the motherboard, your memory, your disk, and all the stuff. But in addition to that, it has a radio access network. It has its antenna, the power amplifier, and so on. Along with that, it has the core software that is enabling that. So usually the requirement is, especially for example, Army, right? Including our Army and many of the defense industry is looking for, when you go in the border area, right? Where absolutely there is no public network coverage. Nobody will go set up a tower in the border disputed area or in the battlefield area. So clearly, private 4G, 5G boxes are very important for defense. So some of them are saying, hey, can I have the box that soldiers can carry? Or you can put it in a truck and take it to the battlefield, and you go set it up. Typically, they take the power, let's say diesel generator, and they carry the antenna. They go set it up, and you don't want that thing to be huge. So the requirement is anywhere from 3 kg to 30 kgs. Should be secure, right? You don't want that communication between the devices and the network in the box to be hacked. So you want that to be secure, especially in military application. You want to have the maximum amount of security. And wireless range, like I mentioned, depending upon the use case, it can be 1 kilometer. Let's say if it is a factory in a city, 1 kilometer is fine. It's more than enough. But if you're talking about a defense, you may want to have 5 kilometer radius coverage that you want to have. Easy to set up. You don't want this to be 2-day setup type of a thing. You want that to be set up in a few hours. And the typical configuration they're asking for is 500 users. Let's say if I go set this up, I want to be able to issue the secondary SIM card to 500 users, and they should be able to talk to each other. And then inter-SIM communication becomes also important. Not only people using their ruggedized phones and tablets is definitely the users, but also there are cameras, robots, and drones. They connect to the same network, and so they can talk to each other as well. So that this way, let's say if you are a soldier carrying the tablet, you should be able to control the drone from the same tablet. And not only you're making call to your fellow soldiers, but also you're controlling the drone, the cameras, and so on. So this is typically what happens. And then sometimes if you want to have communication between one CNIB and another CNIB, you go through SATCOM. This is a satellite communication. Today, military, not only our country, many of the countries are using satellite communication for military communication needs. But the problem is it is very costly, and you need to have a specialized satellite phones to use. Plus also, it is also getting to be more and more difficult to keep it secure. Just like how there are wars happening on the ground, the next level of defense related activities will happen in space. So people are jamming somebody else's satellite signal and so on. So for all of these reasons, defense is clearly looking at, hey, can I have 500,000 of these boxes that I can plant in the border, and so my soldiers can use it. So that is clearly one of the use cases. First responders, let's say policemen, ambulance people, law enforcement, paramedics, all of them are examples of, let's say there is a flooding situation, a hurricane situation, tornado, earthquake, you name it, any natural disaster or a man-made disaster creates a scenario where the public network is gone. Like people cannot talk to each other. Then clearly you want to have those the first responders to carry this private 5G, 4G network, so they can set it up and at least talk to each other, right? So they can coordinate what type of relief work that they need to do or rescue work that they need to do. So this becomes a very important market as well. I mentioned Industry 4.x, manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing becomes important, transportation, trains, energy, oil and gas. So these are some of the markets that we see where the communication network in a box is getting into, and the people are realizing the need for it, and it solves a problem. In addition to that, we're also hearing a few more use cases. For example, lots of our folks who live in the village, they go to forest area for do their work. Let's say they may get some wood from there to sell to others. There are so many people who are getting into the area where it is absolutely there's no coverage. There's no public coverage. So even if they carry a very good smartphone, they cannot talk to each other because there is no tower. So for them, a very small communication network in a box will be very handy. So they can take it with them. Let's say if it is battery operated, they can run it for a few hours, and at least when they go set it up, they can talk to each other. So they can protect themselves from animals or other humans in an area where there is absolutely no public coverage. So the the use cases and the need for communication network in a box is endless. So that's what I wanted to communicate. I think there's one more example. I think basically there'll be different bubbles. Let's say this is a defense use case where there is a defense team. One of them is in one bubble. There are 3 bubbles, and then they can talk via the satellite communication. Nothing more than that. This is the whatever I just described, right? What is the defense need for a 4G, 5G communication network in a box? It should be lightweight. I mean, some people are asking, hey, can my soldier carry it in the backpack, right? So how small can you make it? So can it be portable? And I want to be able to install it very quickly, right? To deploy, and should be able to come back online within minutes. And I should be able to do push to talk, mission critical push to talk, video call, voice call, conferencing, just like the way that they are used to doing it in the WhatsApp. So what does it take to provide the same level of functionality? Because today, if you go to any typical military, they just cannot use WhatsApp because there's no network. So the way they do it is using the old walkie-talkie style type of equipment, which is like 20-year-old technology. But many defense institutions are trying to upgrade that and say, hey, can I bring more richness and more feature-rich communication services to my soldiers? And as more and more drones are getting involved, can I use the same platform to control, to command and control drones? A few other things that we have also heard is, especially these are things for defense, it needs to be secure. You want to be able to encrypt the data so people cannot hack into the network. The other important thing is, let's say, what happens if this box goes into the hands of the enemy, right? How do you make sure that it is completely wiped out so the enemy does not get any of our data? So remote wipe capability is another thing. So just gives you an idea of some of the opportunities and challenges that we have, and this is where educational institutions can come in and innovate. And this is another reason why I believe projects like this will provide IP value creation for the institutions as well as to the companies. I think that's my last slide on the private 4G, 5G. The third technology we'd like to cover is industrial Internet of Things. By the way, this stuff is taken from the Cisco website. You can go take a look at that. Cisco is very big on industrial IoT. IoT consists of 2 parts, right? One is the home IoT, which you probably know. You can go buy home cameras, doorbell, a whole bunch of home automation related. That's also called IoT, but it is a consumer IoT. What we are talking about is industrial IoT, which basically solves problems in the industry. And that's where the money is, right? Industries are beginning to spend more and more on deploying IoT devices, controlling them, using them to improve their efficiency and hence the profit. End of the day, that's what they look for. So I picked 3 Internet of Things. There are plenty of them available on the net. You can go get them, especially from Cisco. IP cameras, like I mentioned, many industries are using cameras, whether it's a warehouse. Let's say if it's a Flipkart, all of you know about the Flipkart service. Let's say if it's a Flipkart warehouse, I'm sure that there are plenty of cameras everywhere for security. And so that's one area where industrial IoT is focusing on. How do we efficiently manage the IP cameras? Good news is there is a protocol called ONWIF. It's a standard protocol. So let's say if you're building an application, whether it is a cloud-based or an edge-based or a device-based application for controlling a camera, you don't need to write for every camera model, right? I think that will be very inefficient. So all the camera vendors, they got together and then they created a standard called ONWIF. So Ecrio uses the ONWIF quite effectively. In fact, we are planning to offer a course in RRC College based upon at least the hands-on training for IP cameras. So this is clearly one device, an IoT device that if you focus on cameras, you cannot go wrong because that's everywhere. So that's one of them. The second one is they call it remote terminal units. So typically you find them in oil and gas industry, where it's basically it's a computer that has a whole bunch of sensors connected to it, whether it is the pressure sensor, oil pressure sensor, humidity, temperature, wind pressure, so wind direction and speed. So plenty of sensors are attached to the RTU, the so-called remote terminal units. So that's the second one that we are hearing, controlling them through our software. And then, of course, the typical environment sensors like temperature, humidity, and pressure. For example, another area that I can think of is agriculture. Right, many of these farms are now beginning to use. Is there a leak in the water pipe? Right, so water shortage becomes a big issue. So how do we prevent the water leaks in the farms? So those are all typical areas of where industrial IoT is coming in and helping a particular sector such as agriculture. So bottom line, industrial IoT is driving industry 4.0, 5.0 business growth. So what that means is they believe by deploying these, they can improve the efficiency, reduce the cost, and hence better profit. I think that's all every company is looking for, right? How do I reduce the expense and how do I make more money? So the business growth and drive the innovation. The innovation is key because some of this technology does not exist, right? It's not something that you can go download from Microsoft and start using it. So it becomes important that people can assemble this, and that is driving the IT industry. So that's the industrial IoT part. So we talked about AI workloads. We talked about private 4G, 5G. We talked about the IIoT. So Ecrio products and solutions, we are addressing a lot of these challenges. And so we have client and server products. We leverage the 5G, IoT, and communication, and all these verticals that you've already seen. So at this point, I'll just describe couple of use cases, and I'll play a video clip to get you a better sense. So this is a project that we did with Amazon Web Services and sponsored by Verizon in US, and a lot of the companies like Tech Mahindra, Span Idea, Moso Labs, Totogi, Ecrio was also involved in creating the app. We call that the ePort Connect app. This was demonstrated live in the largest mobile world show in Barcelona in early part of this year, February. So I'll play this demo, and then basically the idea is how do you make sure that a modern port is leveraging the private 5G, 4G, and AI to make sure that the efficiency of the port is improved, and that's why we call it the ePort Connect. So let me play that video. I probably need to stop share and then come back to it. Just give me a second. Okay, I'm going to play this video.
Ecrio enhances port operations and ensures worker safety measures.
Just a moment.
Hello, in this video, we will see how the ePort Connect app, powered by Ecrio, enhances port operations and ensures worker safety measures. When the ship arrives at the dock, the captain launches the ePort Connect app, powered by Ecrio. The app checks for the presence of 5G connectivity. If 5G connectivity is available, the app retrieves geofence parameters and displays the login screen. Upon entering the corporate account details, the captain successfully logs into the server. The app showcases 3 types of contacts downloaded from the server based on PLMN or LAT or LOAN. Port personals, these contacts encompass individuals crucial for the smooth functioning of port operations. Under port personals, you'll find port director, operator, security, and helpline. Port things, these contacts involve the various devices and objects essential for port operations, such as container tracking devices, environmental sensors, vessel monitoring systems, and automated cranes. Port AI contacts, these contacts include artificial intelligence entities that play a role in optimizing and enhancing port-related processes. Under Port AI contacts, there are bots and assists. To purchase services, the captain navigates to the menu and selects services. The app downloads the entire service catalog for that based on PLMN or LAT or LOAN. The captain contacts the helpline to confirm arrival and departure times. Subsequently, the captain acquires surveillance cameras for the zone and checks the camera feeds. The captain expresses a desire to observe the unloading process and ensure that workers adhere to safety measures. Therefore, the captain purchases the worker safety app and reviews the current safety measurements of the workers. Upon discovering that some workers are not following safety guidelines, the captain initiates a push-to-talk call to the worker's supervisor. In conclusion, the captain wishes to review the purchase receipt quickly. Detailed receipts will be sent to the corporate email.
Okay, so that was an example of how an artificial intelligence enabled AI workload system can prevent accidents in imports. For example, a safety construction worker may not be wearing a safety vest. So that gives you an idea of what that is. So let me continue with my presentation. They have one more video, then I will open it up for questions. Just a moment. So that was this ePort Connect app demo that we did earlier this year. Here is another use case. Basically, it's something that we are working in our Ecrio Chennai office. By the way, in the previous demo, the ePort Connect, the application was developed by some of our wonderful engineers, students from RRC College. So I want to thank them at this time to be part of that development. And right now, the same team is also completed a workload. So here is an example of, let's say, I talked about the construction site. Let's say you're building a big solar panel farm outside the city where there is no coverage. And so you've deployed a private 4G, 5G network. And these are cameras that are monitoring the construction site. And as you can see, the construction workers, some of them, they should be wearing a vest and the hard hat. So the AI system automatically detects who's wearing, are they wearing the vest or the hat, and once it detects any abnormality, it sends that information to our product called IoTie, and that sends a group push-to-talk call to supervisors, site supervisors, as you saw in that other video. So basically, we have implemented all of this today in our Ecrio Chennai office. And we are well on our way to implement them in some of the colleges, including RRC College. So we are working with the staff. All of this is running on a very tiny Jetson hardware from NVIDIA. So you can Google it. They have a small development kit called Jetson Orion Nano. And it basically runs the CUDA framework, as well as it has all the AI ML related frameworks as well. So, like I mentioned, there are several steps involved. Once the camera detects, sends a video information from the site, our cognitive engine detects any abnormality, and then triggers a push-to-talk call to the construction worker. So let me just run one demo as well, and then come back to it. Just a moment.
Hello, In this video we will see how this worker's safety AI workload ensures and monitors a construction site for safety compliance using NVIDIA CUDA, the Ecrio's critical communication platform, and OnVIF cameras. The OnVIF camera at the site streams the construction site video via RTSP to the DTE tag, where the NVIDIA Jetson Orion Nano processes the video feed to detect any person without safety gear using YOLO V8 and NVIDIA CUDA. Upon detecting a safety gear violation, the AI workload triggers a group push-to-talk (PTT) call via MCPTT, which one of the supervisors receives via the COM pack on his ruggedized phone. The video feed is then displayed to the supervisor through a media server on the Ecom app. Staying in the Ecom app, the supervisor can tap on the camera contacts in the supervisor contact list, start a push-to-talk session with the camera, and issue voice commands to pan, tilt, and zoom the camera feed. The camera executes PTZ commands as directed. The DTE's cognitive engine processes the voice commands, such as zooming or turning the camera left and right into PTZ, pan, tilt, zoom, commands. The supervisor then communicates with the worker via a one-to-one PTT call, instructing him to wear the proper safety gear through the Ecom app, and the worker receives these voice instructions to comply with safety protocols. This AI workload solution ensures immediate detection and communication of safety violations, facilitating prompt corrective action.
Okay, so I think that is my last video. Let me see if I can wrap it up and then open it up to questions. Yeah, there was a similar AI workload in the airport that we are working on currently. Let's say if you go to a modern airport, two places where the passengers spend most of the time is go to the airline check-in counter to get their boarding pass. There could be many check-in counters. Some of them could be empty, some of them could be full. So that's one area that cameras are beginning to be very helpful. The second one is the security line. Once you get your boarding pass, to go through the security, to go to your gate, the security lines can also be some of them can be empty, some of them can be full. So the cameras are beginning to detect that and try to make sure the passenger experience is very smooth. Okay, I think that concludes my presentation. Maybe I'll now open it up to any questions, comments.
Dear participants, if you have any doubt,
Yeah, anybody wants to ask a question, please. Let me see, I saw some hands raised.
dear participants, if you have any doubt, please ask to Mr. Krishna Narayan sir.
I'm also checking the chat window if there is any question. I don't see any messages. Oh, some people
Sir.
have raised hands, so maybe you can.
Sir, one question
Yeah.
from YouTube message chat.
Okay, please.
Dr. S. Kalavadi, Dr. Kavita ma'am asked, maybe this same procedure can be implemented in airport also.
Yes, that is correct. She's absolutely right. Airport is getting to be very modernized, and private 5G is becoming important. In fact, we know Dubai Airport, the next airport, is going to be completely a private 5G enabled, where they can control a lot of this completely internally. They don't depend on any public network at all. Yes, absolutely. Airports are going to benefit from the intersection of private 5G, AI workloads, and cameras. So these three are going to play a very major role in airports, and definitely our country is also going to benefit from it. So if you're looking at training the next generation students, then these areas you cannot go wrong. Great question. Thank you. Yeah. think Vijay Shanti Murugan raised a hand. Yeah, John, you can unmute and ask the question. If you in the Gmeet, if you want to ask a question, please unmute and ask a question.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Sure.
Sir, Aru Padayappan first, second MSc of Rajapalayam Raju's College got set out.
Sure.
சார் இந்த மாடலை கிரியேட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு எவ்வளோ காஸ்ட் ஆகும் சார்?
The model they're already created. So there are many open source models available. So the AI models, we have a large community. So if you go to PyTorch, OpenVino, there are many models that are already created. For example, detecting a hard hat, detecting a vest, detecting various things, object recognition and facial recognition. In the models, they're already available. So it doesn't cost you anything. Free of charge.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, so basically the big companies like Meta, Cisco, and NVIDIA, companies who are working on, including Microsoft, all of these companies, they made the models to be freely available. That's the only way they realize that the AI will take on. So many open source models are available. Of course, if you want to build something custom for yourself, then that will take time and money, and that depends on what customization that you want to make. But so far in our AI workloads that Ecrio has done, we didn't have to make any major customization, so it did not cost us a whole lot. Any other questions?
Participants, if you have doubt, please post it now, or else you can post it on a WhatsApp group anytime. We are there to help. Sir, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
This is the time to vote of thanks. Good morning, everyone. I am pleased to convey my gratitude on behalf of our college and computer science department, our chief guest, Dr. Krishna Kumar Narayanan, who is a key source of accepting our invitation and making this FTP happen today. Your talk not only give us knowledge about 4G, 5G, and IoT, but also taught us to think out of the box. We got an idea where the entire world is moving with the help of computer network inbox in the development of the nation, which we clearly understood from your session, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank all the participants who not only took your time, but also cheer us to keep moving with the sessions like this. Let us meet tomorrow at same time. Until then, thanks all. Have a good day. The feedback form is posted in the chat box. All the participants are requested to fill the feedback form. Thank you.